All right, students, to give you an indication of how important I think this is, I'm actually on camera, which is something I completely disdain. So let me take you back to my younger years when I was doing yard work and had a weed eater with an extension cord. And this is how I rolled up my extension cord, right? If you've ever done that, you've done it wrong every time if you're going to be working in video production. So today's tutorial is about learning how to properly over-under a cable, which seems like a very small and insignificant thing, but every skill in video production starts with the basics and then you can build on that. This is the most basic skill. It also actually requires practice. So this is your first prerequisite, over-under a cable. Okay, so you have two different cables here, audio cable, video cable, obviously different lengths. And because they're different lengths, there'll be different sizes when it comes to the loop, okay? And there's a correct loop size. I mean, it's not exact, but you know, if you've been in this business for a while, you understand what a 15 to 20 foot cable loop size looks like versus a more than 20 foot, maybe 30, 40 foot cable right here. So if you come back with a cable looking like this, you've got big problems. That's incorrect, and it makes it very hard. It makes it much harder next time you come out to do a shoot, to put this where it needs to go, to drag it where it needs to go, and then to recoil it the correct way. So I'm going to hand this to Trevor. He's going to go lay it in the sun, and that will help us. Thank you, Trevor. That'll help laying it in the sun. So if you want to practice this at home and you've got old extension cords, lay them in the sun for 15, 20 minutes, and then they'll be able to be retrained. So this is an XLR cable, also a microphone cable. We're going to start with this. This is the end result of how it is properly coiled. And I'm going to uncoil it. Thank you, Eric. Okay, so very simple. This is the nuts and bolts of it. In your non-dominant hand, you pinch the connector. In your dominant hand, about 1.5 feet down, you pinch the cable. You make your first loop. Okay, now that loop is too small, I can tell just because of experience. So I'm going to make the loop a little bit bigger. That's about the right size right there. Should be about the size of a volleyball if it's a 15-foot cable. Okay, so that's my first over. I've gone here, I've gone over, right? Now I go about another 18 inches down and I turn my thumb in and I go under. See, the loop is smaller, so now I'll make that loop bigger to match, right? Now I go over, now I go under. So it's over the top, the outside of your hand goes over the top, and then you slide your hand down the cable and you go under. You turn your hand in and you go under. Thus the name over, under. So over and under. Then over and under. You've got it right where you want it. You wrap tie the cable together. You have a neat cable to store in a drawer or in a case. Okay, through the magic of television, we are instantly in the parking lot behind the communications and out in front of the stadium. This is about a 7,500 foot cable. I showed it to you at the very beginning of this little tutorial. And so Trevor has stretched it out across the parking lot so that it would be a little bit more pliable. So this is what you can do at home if you've got an old janky extension cord. Just lay it across your driveway, and then the heat will make it a little bit more pliable so that you can practice your over-under. So again, with a bigger cable is a bigger loop. So I start again and do my over first. My hand goes over the top. Then it goes under, and you can tell this is still not as pliable as it needs to be. So what I do is I match the sizes and I go ahead and tighten this up so that it will train the correct way. Back to over, that did that pretty easy. Back to under, thumb inside, back to under, loop size is consistent. Once again, it's not the most pliable, so I'm stretching it out to make sure that it's trained that way. Back to over, same loop size, much bigger than the XLR cable. Then under, And we just get it done. Okay, so final product right here. It still is not exactly trained just because it was in the cabinet as we showed you before, and so it got trained in a knot or trained in a kind of a rat's nest of cable. So, but this, if it sits in the cabinet this way, it'll get trained and it'll be much easier for the crew to use it next time. So last little step is you just find some sort of a twisty tie and tie it up. Make sure it stays together. Tighten it up. And now you have a coiled big cable. Once you lay it down, its own weight will help train it. That is how a big cable is supposed to look.